back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad that you're joining us again this week. We're always happy for people like you, people who are interested in what's happening in our cities. It's important for good government that there be a back and forth of ideas and thoughts and what should be going on between the people that live in the city, the people that are on the city council, and the mayors and the staff. So we're glad that you're interested enough to tune in. And if you haven't watched us before, we'll have somebody from one of the 9 cities in CCX's viewing area to fill us in on what's the latest things the City Council's been working on, maybe some of the up-and-coming things. And we're very happy tonight to welcome Jim Prom, who's on the Plymouth City Council. Been a little while, so we're glad to have you back with us.
Thank you for having me back, Juanita. I'm glad to be here.
And I asked you to think a little something about, what can you tell us a little bit about the early history of Plymouth?
Well, I did a little digging,
and
because Plymouth was originally Medicine Lake.
Okay.
The trolley went down to the peninsula on Medicine Lake.
Oh.
And so Medicine Lake developed first, and I think you had some wealthy people living there. So they named the whole area Medicine Lake. But the entire surrounding area was farmers.
Right.
Independent-minded farmers. So we don't have any proof of this, but I suspect that sometime early on, they decided, you know what, we've had enough of your ideas. We're going to create our own city. So at some point, they broke off and renamed themselves Plymouth, which I hearken back to Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah, right, so the beginning of our country.
And then the trolley went away, and now Medicine Lake is completely surrounded. So
I didn't know
it's been one farmland after another there.
And I didn't know that the trolley came all the way out to Medicine Lake.
That's what I was told.
I know about Theodore Worth, that it went out to there.
Yep. We had light rail.
Oh, long ago.
80 years ago, right? Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you. And then our perennial update on the Four Seasons Mall.
Well, I couldn't wait till you brought that up.
So who currently owns the Four Seasons Mall?
So the Four Seasons Mall is still owned by Walmart.
Okay.
They bought it, I think, almost more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And they never really came in with a plat for us to, they just decided that for whatever reason, we weren't going to have a really big box store there.
Right.
And so they basically put it up for sale. We had a gentleman from India come 2 or 3 years ago, and he wanted to develop it. And he wanted to have a couple of hotels and some restaurants and a little bit of housing and a ramp. He had a pretty unique concept, and he did a lot of work on it, but he didn't get the financing for the hotel, and that kind of, he had to drop the whole thing. Then we started all over, and then Dominium, which is a company in Plymouth, they build affordable housing. So they came back, they talked to them, and they made them an offer to purchase the property based on their being able to build 3 affordable housing units and some retail.
Right.
More on the retail later. But what the concept was, it was approved by the council already. So there is an approved plan, although the other plan was also approved, the hotels. So it all boils down to financing.
Oh, right, definitely.
And I believe they have financing for their senior building, but they don't quite have financing for their other 2 affordable housing, workforce housing. And my understanding is that sometime in the spring, they anticipate receiving this or the go-ahead, the green light, if you will, on the other 2 buildings. And when that happens, the old building's coming down. So I'm really hoping that by spring, no later than summer, that old building, the old strip mall, will be gone, and they'll start working on the senior building. I don't want to say it's a guarantee.
No, you
but
can't.
It looks a little bit more positive than the last development as far as being completed.
Well, and if they've got part of it, the financing arranged, that should be a positive thing for the next 2.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I'm just not positive that they're going to tear down the old building until they get all their financing.
They've been there so long.
Because Because that's when the deal closes.
Oh, definitely.
Right? They have to purchase the property in order to tear it down.
Right.
So just because they made an offer and it's been
That's- yeah.
accepted, it's contingent upon them
Yeah.
being able to do what they want to do. We're this close.
Right.
We're this close.
It's getting there.
And a lot of people, I'm tired of looking at it. I
Yeah.
am too. I live right over on that side of town, and it would be great to get something else in
It
there.
will.
Now, the commercial side of it, there was talk about having a Panera Bread
Uh-huh.
or restaurants,
Yeah.
and because of the pandemic, I'm not sure that's going
Right.
to happen right
Yeah,
away.
not-
It's just really difficult to start a new business
Oh,
like a
definitely.
restaurant, and then you can't even fill it up, 50%. Most restaurants have a very thin margin, about 10 to
Definitely.
15%, and if half of your customers go away, you got no margin at all. So
Right.
I really want to give my hats off to all those businesses that are staying alive and working hard, and let them know that the city of Plymouth wants to work with you as best we can to get through
Right.
this together. We really need.
No,
we
and
really
that's
do.
important for people out there to know too, that the city council is working actively on behalf of keeping businesses.
Yep, that's exactly right. So hang in there, Ward 4. We'll get that old building down.
So keep watching the area, keep watching the agendas, and see what happens in the spring.
Absolutely. I look forward to when the all clear is given and people can actually start coming into our meetings again.
Oh, right.
The Zoom meetings were so kind of impersonal,
Oh, definitely.
and it's very difficult to get people's input. Now, I appreciate people, calling and leaving emails.
Oh, yeah,
but
you need that
it's
kind
nice
of,
to get them in the meeting. yeah.
right. Yeah, we'll encourage those of you out there to be sure to take down Jim's email and phone number. So if any of these issues are of concern to you, definitely you want to hear from them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
And another big project that you have going on is you're restructuring, remodeling the Plymouth Creek Center. I don't know which term is right. Maybe it's a whole nother term.
It's an addition.
Okay, you're making an addition
We
to
made a huge addition.
Okay.
We've already approved it. It's a $50 million improvement on the current building. The current building's only 20 years old, so
Okay.
much of it will stay the same.
Sure.
We're just going to do some improvements on the current part, but then we're going to add 2 gymnasiums.
Okay.
There's going to be a indoor playground, so on
Oh.
rainy days in the
Oh, that's
summer,
cool.
it's going to be about 8,000 square feet. On top of the gym, there's going to be a walking track. I know a lot of people, have told me that it's okay to walk in the dome in the winter,
Yeah.
but it's cold.
Yeah.
So for those people, they'll have a walking track that'll kind of overlook the gymnasiums
Oh, that'd be
inside.
kind of cool.
Our wedding area is going to be improved. We're going to be adding other rooms for education. So it's really going to be quite a project. Probably
Right.
take more than a year to get it done, but we've already opened up bonding for it, and we've already started on the project.
Right.
Trees are removed, and the construction team is going to work as we speak.
Aha.
As we speak, yeah.
And maybe you can tell us about, because I know you had got a lot of input from your residents on this project. Maybe you can tell us about some of the different ways you reached out to hear from residents what they wanted.
Well, Plymouth has a couple of different ways. Normally, we have meetings and open houses.
Right.
We also have Lori Hokanen, who developed this flash vote, which is a way for people to come
Right.
and give their opinion from home.
Right.
That was before the COVID. They started
Yeah.
the flash vote, and that's working out. That's another way that we can get people's opinion. There was a lot of surveys, so we really kind of had the best of everything as far
Right.
as feedback on what people want. And I think we're providing everything everything that people want.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
When you can put it all
Well,
together.
and hopefully that'll last quite
Right.
a while.
Well, and people look for those kind of opportunities when they're looking to buy a home in a city. What do they have available?
Right.
What can our family do?
Yep. Plymouth is a wonderful city that has a wonderful bedroom community that has some fantastic businesses, and a wonderful park system that's interconnected and serves everybody. It's kind
Definitely.
of the three-legged stool of Plymouth.
So the center itself will be open while the additions are going on.
I think parts of it will
Okay.
be. Right now I think you can get into parts of it, but as as the new building kind of encircles the old building,
Right.
I think there'll be a few months where it won't be accessible.
Sure.
Probably during the winter,
Yeah.
which would be perfect, right?
Right,
No,
right. Work
no.
out together.
I think we're still going to put up our dome though, and the parks staff are fantastic. They'll have ways to get in and out,
Right.
and we'll figure that out.
So
So.
just look for signs to tell you what to do, or check out the
Yep,
city hall.
You can access the Parks Department through the website. Our Communications Department does a wonderful job basically sending out information and letting people know. And there'll be some on-site
Right.
signs as well.
Well, and that building is busy all the time now, so it needs more space, right?
Yeah, Plymouth, it was built 20 years ago. I think we had 30,000 less people than what we
Right.
do today. So there's a lot more people that are
Right.
interested in accessing
Yeah.
it.
And it's in a pretty location.
It is. It's kind
Yeah.
of the center of the city. That's another thing that we talked about is Plymouth 2.0. We've met with some developers and architects and different people who want to relook at downtown Plymouth, which that's a part of.
Right.
Maybe add some more housing and kind of get some more what everybody wants, restaurants and things like that in there. So we're also looking at that.
In that general area.
Yeah, in that general area, Plymouth, downtown Plymouth.
Now, Plymouth is working on their 2021 city budget and tax levy. They started way back in like January, February, where your staff put information together for you. Then what are the next steps that have been happening?
Well, we're fortunate to have Dave Callister from Ellers Financial, and they put together a 10-year plan. So it's really wonderful because
Oh,
every
that's
year we
good.
can see what we did last year. We can see our needs out 5-10 years from now. So we discuss how much Plymouth has a great record of having low taxes.
Right.
We have wonderful businesses who pay 1/3 of our taxes, and thank you,
Yeah.
businesses of Plymouth. You're a great asset, and we want to do everything to help you.
The city taxes take a lot of work and effort on the staff's
You were
part
talking about
first.
the 10-year plan. Yes,
Right.
that's right.
And you were telling me about your 10-year plan.
Right.
And that sounds like an excellent way to go.
And generally, we want to keep taxes down with the purchase of the bonds for the Plymouth Creek Center.
Right.
That could have created a big spike in taxes.
Yeah.
We could have had a double-digit tax increase.
Ooh, yeah.
But because of this planning and the 10-year planning, we're able to break that up over 3 years. So instead of people getting a 15-year increase,
Right.
they're getting, I think, about a 6% increase this
Well,
year.
that's pretty
And
good.
hopefully not much more than that for the next
Right.
couple of years. But in doing so, then we have to weigh all the other items in the budget.
Oh,
And that's what
definitely.
the other process is about. Okay, well, we decided this number is the most we're going to levy
Right.
for, 5.9, 6%. So what in our planning do we need to change? Do we really need that third fire truck? Or
Right.
do we need that snow grader? Or some of the other things that do we really need? And that's kind of part of the budgeting process as well. In addition to staff.
Oh.
So
right.
we've added full-time firemen. We only had part-time before, and now we have 12 full-time firemen.
Yeah, you had changed your whole organization, right?
Yep, we really did, and that's part of the budgeting process. Okay,
Yes.
well, we're going to need this much money. We're going to need to build 2 fire stations, rebuild 2 fire stations, and so that also goes into the budget.
Yes.
And then at the end of the day, we kind of figure out, okay, well, we're going to spend this much for all the things we've decided to spend on. These are the things we'd like to have.
Right.
So in order to make the balanced budget, we might have to put this off or put this off or
Right.
change this. And like I said, the staff's done a wonderful job. They make it very clear to us what the trade-offs are.
Right.
And that's kind of where we are now. We're basically 13th, I think we'll meet again to kind of come up with our final decisions on what we're going to keep and
Right.
what we're going to put off for another time.
Yeah, because by September you had to say what's the most your
That's right. We have to
tax
set the
would
levy
be.
cap. That's right.
And you can bring it down, but you can't bring it up.
That's right. Hardly anyone brings it down.
Right.
That's really tough because
Yeah,
of all the
very hard.
demands. We're a growing city. There's more roads that are going to need to be, redeveloped, reconstructed, and so that's all part of the planning. I I'm glad that we have Dave, and he's helped other cities that don't have this process. We welcome any other cities who'd like to learn more about it to contact Dave Callister, because we're happy to share the information.
Oh, that's good.
You know, this isn't something we hoard to ourselves.
Right,
It's not a
right.
private business with top secret information.
Right.
It's a wonderful way of doing long-term planning, so you're not stuck with, oh my goodness, this year we need a 20%
Right.
increase. So it's working out pretty well. And
Yeah, that's an important thing to make a decision about how to approach your budgeting, right?
it really does. And of course, with the bond rates being as low as they are,
Right.
it actually is a good time to build stuff and get stuff done, because you and I both lived in the Jimmy Carter area when
Right.
interest rates were 14%.
Right.
Do you realize almost half Americans don't know what that's like?
That's true.
They have no idea what that was like. And because it happened before, it could happen again.
Oh, definitely.
And a lot of people don't realize that either. So we're really on solid ground. We're going to keep our AAA rating. We're going to stay, steady, and we're not going to go for any major new purchases until we get some of these other things done that should be done.
Right. Now, is the proposed city budget on your website?
You know, I believe it is, but I'm not positive.
I'm thinking it is.
If it's
and
not, it's going to be.
Okay.
Right, Dave?
because there are people that want to kind of see what's overall is happening, not the nitty gritty of all
Right.
the details. And I was thinking that your website might be the best place for
I
them to
wouldn't
go.
I wouldn't be surprised that when it's done, it'll go
Right,
on there.
right.
And we try to be as transparent as we can. And we're pretty good at that. Like I said, the communications department sends out quarterly, like magazines, if you will,
Right.
with all that information of what's new. And I'm sure there's going to be a budget one, there's an environmental one, there's 4 different quarterly
Right.
things that we send out to every home, every resident.
Yeah, because you've had good information about your budgets that I've seen in your city newsletters
Yeah.
that let people know some of the details in a
Right.
general way.
Yep, and we try to make it all understandable. That
Right.
A lot of people don't understand how much of their property tax bill actually belongs to the city of Plymouth.
Oh, and that's important for
It
people.
is,
for
because
people
they
to
see
know
a
that-
big jump and they think
Yeah,
it's us.
There's the city and
The county,
and
school district.
the school district,
Yep.
and a few little small
the
ones.
Bass Creek watershed,
Right.
the watersheds are in there, and there's a few other ones. So the Plymouth portion of their property taxes is about 20%.
So it's important for people to know that when they start getting a little excited, right?
It is, absolutely. It is, and that's what voting is all about. It is
Right.
important to vote, because any city can decide to go on a spending spree.
Oh, yeah.
It would be tempting for our city to do that, because we do have a AAA
Right.
bonding, if we wanted to, but that's not very prudent, because as we've learned over the past year, you don't know what's coming around the corner.
Oh, for sure.
And like I said, if our businesses continue to feel this strain
Right.
and start going out of business, that's going to impact that
Oh,
as well. So
overall,
it's good to go slow and steady.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then in December, you need to finalize it so it goes
Yes.
off to the state, and then part of the process is you share your budget's information with different cities around you too, right?
Yep, absolutely. Like I said, we're happy to do so.
Right.
Everything's transparent. You can see how we got there, why we made these decisions. And I like that. It really
Yeah.
is nice to be transparent, because
Oh, it's important.
you get a lot less people quizzing you about it and being, again, suspicious or untrusting,
Oh,
because
right.
it's all out there. And
Oh, it's
trust
an-
is the coin of the
It's
realm.
very important.
It really is.
Don't want to lose that.
No, you really don't.
And I think there's been more city councils trying different methods of reaching out to people too. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes people react more if you go one way than another.
And you always have 2 different forces on
Right.
any particular issue. I like the fact that Plymouth really hasn't got into controversial issues as some
Right.
of the other cities have. I hope we stay on that, but I find that controversy can really kind of harm a city.
Oh, I think it can, right?
And look no further than maybe some of the bigger cities.
Right, just look around.
Minneapolis, for example.
Yeah.
We don't want to get to that point.
Yeah.
And we're not there. So, if we do what we're supposed to do,
Right.
right?
And let
Pro-
people know.
Provide water and sewer
Right.
and streets and roads and safety, then we're doing great.
Now, you have community policing? Or is yours structured differently?
Mike Goldstein, Chief Director Goldstein,
Uh-huh.
is one of the most respected police chiefs in the state of Minnesota. Many other cities do come to him for how to police.
Uh-huh.
And I trust him implicitly. And he does have, in a sense, what you're calling community
Right.
policing, where they get out into the local community.
Right.
Before COVID, there was like, I don't want to shoot off a number off the top of my head, but it was in the thousands of individual contacts where they, in addition to just being in the schools, being out in public areas and making contact
Right.
with the residents. We have a wonderful trust with the community right now.
Oh, that's
And
important.
I credit all of our officers and Chief Goldstein for the way he runs things. And I think we are a model of other for other cities who aren't quite there,
Right.
or who are breaking down that level of trust. It's very important. On 9/11, only almost 20 years ago, all police officers were loved and adored.
Right.
And here we are 20 years later, and literally they're being shot at. It's
Yeah.
just very, very discouraging. I was in Los Angeles during the riots of 1992.
Right.
And this is really reminiscent of what I saw then.
Oh, it is.
And it's not a good thing.
No,
and so we want to stay away from that.
Right.
And so, yeah, so we still try to get our police officers out as much as possible, just in the community.
Yeah, I think there's been a whole movement in that direction of all the cities around us of getting the police involved with the community.
Yeah, yeah. We have to trust each other.
Yeah.
We really do. There's too many people trying to break that down and trying to get us to distrust each other. And
Right.
I hate to say it, but a lot of that's from politicians.
Yeah.
So
Stirring up.
stirring up trouble just to win a vote, to win your seat,
Yeah.
and willing to put, people's lives at risk really disturbs me. It really does. And we don't have any of that in Plymouth. Or, like you said, most of this
Yeah,
northwest
most of
area.
the northwest
We really don't
suburbs.
have that, and we shouldn't go down that road. No.
And then maybe you can tell us a little bit about the fact that there's some problem with burglaries out in the Plymouth area and what they're facing and what they're doing about it.
So, yeah, we've this whole anarchy movement, Antifa,
Right.
Black Lives Matter, some of these organizations are actually purposefully causing trouble. And a lot of people, if they feel like the police are just going to stand down and go back to their precinct, this is what happened in LA.
Uh-huh.
The mayor called all the police back to the precinct, and suddenly all the stores were being looted. Similar now, if people think that the police are not going to come out, they feel emboldened.
Oh,
And
yeah.
television has kind of made them feel emboldened, or even that it's their right to go and steal and burglary and do other things. So we've always given the same precautions to people. We have new technology like Ring doorbells and things.
Oh, right.
They're actually helping us a lot, actually getting pictures. And that's the one
yeah.
thing I say to residents, if you're up at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, which is a lot of this happens at night,
Right.
and you see something suspicious, get your iPhone out, take some pictures, and you can send them right into the city of Plymouth.
Right,
And that'll
right.
help us catch.
Yeah.
The more the criminals know that they're likely to be caught, the more they're going to move on to other areas
Right.
where they're not. And that would be other areas
Oh,
outside
yeah,
the
that
Northwest
would, yeah,
quadrant.
would make a difference.
Yes, so that's kind of what we're doing there, and we're telling the residents about that.
And maybe we could expand a little on how residents can help the police.
Well, basically, the number one thing residents can do is call 911.
Right.
A lot of people don't want to call 911.
And they
Look,
should.
there was this guy in my neighborhood. I don't know him, but I don't want to feel like, I'm profiling or whatever.
Right.
And I just don't really, I don't know. Well, okay, you don't know, we can find out.
Right, right.
Because we've added more police
Ah.
over the past few years, we're able to get to that call a lot quicker, under 5 minutes.
Oh, that's good.
And if somebody's in a neighborhood and they're doing nothing wrong,
right.
then the conversation is going to be like, "Hey, how are you doing? We got a call."
Yeah.
You know, and the person will say, "Yep, I'm in the neighborhood. I'm not doing anything wrong. No big
Right.
deal," and then they'll go on their merry way. If they get stopped by the police and they say, "Hey, I've done nothing wrong, and I'm gonna, I'm just here in the neighborhood," chances are they're going to get out of there
Yeah,
after
if-
making contact with the police.
Right.
And this is especially true at 2, 3, 4 in the morning
Oh, I
when a
can see
lot of
that.
these things are going on. So I'd say most particularly that's how the community helps us. You're our eyes and ears, and we work together. So when you call and we take care of it, then you know it's taken care of,
Right.
and then we trust each other. And
Yeah,
I think
and you
that's
want
best.
neighbors to be aware of what's going on with the people beside them or right around them.
That's really important. And that's, unfortunately, in this political time, you got a lot of neighbors who are at odds with each other politically. You got the sign in one yard and then a big fence and then the opposite
Right
sign
now,
in the
right.
other yard. And unfortunately, that doesn't build good neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait till November 3rd is over and we can go
Move-
back
and
to
move-
doing
move
that
on,
and
no
going
matter
back to
what.
that and working together.
Right.
That is really important. We also have solicitor stickers. So you can get those at City Hall.
Okay.
Basically, if you have a no soliciting in your window, they're not supposed to come and knock at your door.
Aha.
Unless they're running for office. Hey, we get an exemption.
Right, right.
So there's a few exemptions for First
Right.
Amendment. But by and large, if they're soliciting something, they're not supposed to come. That's another way somebody comes to your door, you got the sticker on, you
Right.
bring up your phone, you take a picture, you say, "By the way, I'm just going to call the police." It's amazing how quickly they leave the neighborhood.
That sounds like a good
And if
idea.
they're on the legit, then that's
Yeah.
fine. Call the
Yeah,
police,
right.
and that's great. Those are two things that they can do to help themselves and their neighbors. Look out for each other.
And to not feel like they shouldn't call.
Right.
They really should.
Right. Don't feel like you're shamed just
Yeah.
because you call the police. If it's no big deal, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
But I've seen every week we have a different report of some of the
Right.
things that are going on. And because of all the things that are happening nationally, it's increasing, I think, in every city. It's probably
Right.
increasing in your own.
Right.
But the same things that we're doing in Plymouth, you're probably doing in
Right.
your cities as well, I would think.
Yeah, I would, because it's important for the police to have interaction with neighbors, and that's one way they can do it.
That's exactly right. And we got to trust our police.
Yeah, that's
We
important.
really do. We have one.
Right, definitely. Well, thank you very much for sharing your time and your expertise with our audience out there, Bruce. And we'll hope to look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye.
Bye.